All right. Do you think in the next few years AMD/Radeon will try to dominate the budget GPU category with their APUs? So not discrete GPUs, especially with how GPU pricing has been the past couple of years.
This is always a hot topic, isn't it? Every time that we see issues with budget GPUs, people always bring up APUs as the solution, or like when are APUs going to get to low end GPU sort of levels of performance? And we're sitting here in 2022 and it still hasn't happened. It feels like we were having this discussion in like 2019, 2017.
Yeah, people in the tech industry sort of in the know with some sort of influence have always predicted this being a thing, which is I think why people expect it and keep wondering when is it going to be a thing. But as we've talked about in the past, really for an APU to compete with an entry-level graphics card, like a discrete graphics card, it basically has to be an entry-level discrete graphics card. Like you need a local DRAM buffer.
Yep.
It needs all these things, like some sort of like maybe HBM chip as well, like an almost on-die DRAM sort of package as well.
Yeah, like even DDR5 isn't going to cut it.
No. Yep. So you end up creating this really intricate, ultimately very expensive APU, which it would have just been cheaper to pair a regular CPU with a discrete graphics card.
Yeah, that's always the issue. And on top of that, it's like, yes, APUs continually to get more performance in the iGPU. We've just seen Ryzen 6000 with a pretty substantial leap for iGPU performance for laptops, for example.
And that's where they work well.
That's where they work well. But the issue is that, yes, the APUs get faster, but so do all the other GPUs.
Yes, that's right.
Like, the GPU performance of iGPUs has kind of stayed stagnant for a little bit. We've seen, obviously, Ampere RDNA 2 come out and provide big performance gains at the high end. So then you need your APUs to move up as well. So unless for some reason AMD decides we're going to make gigantic APUs, like their current die, I believe, is just over 200 square millimeters, they'd have to go up to like 400 square millimeters to get the size of GPU that makes the most sense for an entry-level discrete card. Even if they added a 6500 XT, not the most powerful GPU, that's still up, 100 square millimeters, just over 100 square millimeters just on the GPU. So.
Yeah, and you're creating a really impractical graphics card, as I said, because then the motherboards have the power delivery there for a powerful integrated GPU, and then local memory, stuff like that. Then you're just creating a really expensive CPU that doesn't make sense.
The only company that's gotten close to achieving that is Apple with like the M1 Max, but they use significantly higher memory channels than we see from traditional APUs. So that's the AM5 socket or whatever the upcoming socket is. It's pretty unlikely to use like 8-channel memory.
There's not alternative socketed CPUs there.
So you need to have like an alternate socket to give you more DRAM, or as you say, the HBM option, which is expensive. Yep. They might be able to do like a multi-die GPU plus CPU thing, but the package size starts to become an issue. There's all sorts of complications, which is why entry-level discrete GPUs have still been the main option for people. Like it probably would end up being cheaper as an overall platform than going really large on the APU. And maybe that's fine for a $4,000, $5,000 laptop where you could feasibly spend $500-$600 on the APU. But if we're talking pairing a $100 CPU with a $200 GPU, the APU could be more than that.
On desktop, you're not constrained really. Even mini ITX, you're not really. And you've got socketed CPUs. The APU has to be more cost effective than a similar performance CPU with a discrete GPU. So if you can go and buy like another 6-core, 8-core CPU that has similar or more CPU processing power and pair that with an entry-level discrete GPU, and that ends up being a faster combination for either the same or less money, why would you buy the APU? So APUs are sort of niche products that fill those product segments that Tim's talked about. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
And most of the products we've seen so far, it's not just that the GPU has issues, they often compromise on the CPU to fit the GPU in. Like I believe, was it 11th gen where only like the desktop parts only had 32 execution units, not the full design, because they tried to fit in as many cores as they could. And then obviously on the AMD side, they cut down things like cache to fit into the monolithic
L3
design.
cache just got slashed.
So, there's all sorts of considerations here. But people always want APUs to kind of be a thing for entry-level gaming, and yeah, it's questionable, I guess, whether that's ever going to be the reality.
Well, 5 years ago, we were saying, I think when Ryzen, even, what was it, 3-4 years ago when Ryzen first burst on the scene, this was something that people were really excited about. We're like, it's not happening anytime soon. We're now 3-4 years down the track and we're saying the same thing. So, there has to be some sort of crazy technology breakthrough there for them to make sense on desktop platforms.